Guys, I'm sorry. The space just crashed. I think the network had a problem, and it just happened. So I've restarted it, and we are going to continue the conversation. I think Divine was speaking before the space crashed, so I will allow him to go ahead, and then the others will join in. So Divine, please.
Okay, Kojo, thank you. I mean, I was basically, I don't know where you've heard me up to before the thing cut, but I was sort of acknowledging those who speak earlier and saying that if you can please clarify when the deadline it's really, because from Eslausu's Facebook page, we see ending of August there, and there's also 30th September ending. So when is the real deadline for registration? And I was talking about the fact that it's very interesting that they are allowing people with international passports now to be able to register for their SIM cards and later on go update it to their Ghana card. And with the new app we are told is going to come on stream, are we going to be allowed to use the passport to register in the app for now and later go update it after 3 months with the Ghana card? Is that what's going to happen? That we've not got any clarification on that. And I was also wondering why international passports, which we Ghanaians can use it outside the country to get SIM cards or even, obtain bank accounts outside Ghana. In our own country, Ghana, we are being barred from using it to do registrations. And what happens to, last Friday when in our space, um, somebody spoke about the fact that we should allow to be used other cards, and we're told there's been a court ruling that says it's only NI cards that should be used for the SIM card registration. So has that law been modified in a way or not? We don't have clarity on that. And if anybody on this space has more information on that, you can please share. Um, Again, I was wondering why we are going to be allowed to be paying 5 CDs to register our SIM cards. The question here is that what's the purpose of this whole SIM card registration exercise? Who does it benefit more? And why are we going to be why are they charging us? Because as somebody already mentioned, we said we have about, let's say, 50 million people more to register their SIM card. So if you just take in 5 million of that and each person is paying 5 CDs, that's going to be a huge revenue. Where does it go to? Is it going to government? The question is that paying for that your SIM card re-registration, does it attract e-levy? Those are some of the questions we need to understand. And before you download the app and use it and all those things, it connects to data. Who pays for those? And all those other questions were not very well answered. And I feel like, again, that the government should listen to people. Listen to what the citizens are feeling and try and tailor policies to be that. They are approaching this whole SIM card registration thing like, a headmaster and their kids, shall go and do it. If you don't do it, I'll punish you. And that's what it is. So, those are my few thoughts on whatever I've been said so far today concerning the SIM card registration.
So, on the passport bit, should people be allowed to register with their passports and later update when they get a Ghana card? That's a good question. Will the 5 CD payment attract e-levy? That's also a good concern being raised there, and the other concerns you've raised. Thank you very much, Divine. So, I'm going to go to Engineer Abdullah. Okay, NK,
Kojo,
I think you've unmuted, so go ahead, NK.
Yeah, thanks, Kojo. I have a couple of questions based on this announcement by the minister. And to my mind, it raises a lot of concerns about what we're trying to do with this whole Ghana card, one, verifiable source of data for all Ghanaians. If I'm understanding this correctly, the Ghana card is supposed to be one undisputable database from which all other IDs are validated, generated, etc., etc., etc. And so, with all the off-takers being the GRA, SNIT, the Ministry, the Immigration Service for passports, the NC, and everything else, the understanding was that everyone would validate against the National Identification Authority's database. And so when the NCA came out to announce their own biometric registration, it raised questions of data security, data integrity, and just double work simply for procurement purposes. Now that they've announced a self-service portal through or a self-service app. The question then becomes is why is that app being allowed to collect, well, to my mind, why is that app being allowed to collect biometric data? Because the biometric data which we are using because we want to create a unified system already exists, like other speakers have raised, with the NIA. And so collecting this, if we are collecting this through smartphones, that means that somebody else is handling this sensitive data. For those of you who are, or for those of us who have smartphones that allow fingerprint verification, it's either Google or Samsung or Apple that has some infrastructure, and we've given them permission to hold our fingerprints. And for some people, it's not just your fingerprints in your phone, but that of your partner or somebody else. The double data set that's being created because of these things, what happens with harmonizing it? As in, I feel that there are lots of problems that are about to be created simply because the NCA, or the Ministry of Communication, has decided that they are not going to follow the script. They are going to collect their own data, but somehow their data set is not the data set that is required for validating the identity of Ghanaians. And so if we're going to use that for phones, essentially means that there are two separate data sets being created. And so really, the problem of proving that Kojo Akoto is Kojo Akoto still exists, because the Kojo Akoto in the NIA database may be slightly different from the Kojo Akoto in the NCA database, because we are collecting the biometric data from two separate points. Apart from this, I'm a bit confused as to where Kelny GVG comes into the play. What registration app do they have? And are they the same people, launching this new app on behalf of the NCA? How are they controlling the data that they're collecting? Do they have the ability to pass it on to third parties? Are they automatically going to validate this against the NIA's data? The Minister of Communication has come out time and time again to say that she doesn't know what's going on with the NIA. She doesn't care about that. She's doing her own thing because she has to comply with some policy that says that you have to be re-registered. But then the way they're going around these re-registrations, it's creating problems for using your phone, using your Ghana card, and using mobile money by extension. Because the fintechs, for example, from the perspective of a fintech, whose data set are you relying on to validate a transaction? The NCA, who is the regulator for communications and who is your regulator, has their own data sets. The agreed data sets exist separately with the NIA. But you as a fintech, because your regulator is the NCA, you have to use that data set. Are you using two different data sets to validate voice services and mobile money services? As in, from the perspective of well, I guess I would like some clarity from the perspective of someone who is in the telco industry and operate a telco, B, from a data security perspective, because I feel that our data regulator and I think there's a data authority, the national data regulator needs to be more up and doing and more involved in what's going on between the NC and the NIA, because clearly there's a lot of disagreements between the parties that needs to be sorted out.
Okay, so okay, let me offer some information. So this is all information I get, and then I'll throw them in. So I said I assume Kelny GVG is the one building the app because of a release we had this week that the service had crashed, blah blah blah, and was a service offered by Kelny GVG to the telcos. Do you understand? Now, number two, you have a concern why people will be using their phones to capture the data. The telcos are actually using phones to capture data.
Now,
So
my question is are they taking pictures, or they're using the biometric fingerprint readers in the phones?
They are taking pictures. They take a facial photo, and they also scan your fingerprints.
Okay.
They also scan your fingerprints using your camera. I'm not much of a data, cybersecurity, or whatever person, but that was how I got registered. So they scanned my fingerprints and they sort of got my biometrics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if it's the same app the telcos are using already, that is going to be put out for all of us to use, then on that particular level, we will have same level of and same type of data being collected. But what I don't know is whether the data the NCA is collecting through the telcos is in the same format as what the NIA is collecting.
That's where the problem is.
You also raise the concern with the fact that a third party is collecting this data, and that could be a problem. Now, the reality is that even with the NIA's registration, it's a third party business that is collecting that data.
There's a service level agreement between the service level and security agreements between the NIA and said third party that ensure data integrity.
So let's also assume that on the NCA side, that is possibly there, because we cannot say that we are doing something of this magnitude and nobody has really thought about that. That would be really a big national security problem. So let's assume that on that side, that is sorted. These are just assumptions I'm making. I'm not speaking for them. Okay. I don't want us to be too alarmed that some third-party business is collecting our data and they are going to use the data for whatever it is that they want to use it for. I also want to assume that people just capturing data and sending that data to the database won't pose much of a security threat than if this app could read information from the database. That would have been the bigger threat. But this time they are putting out the app which you use just to capture the data for to be sent to the database. So these are assumptions I'm making to make me feel a bit more comfortable with the process. And we've been asking for this anyway, that instead of having people go queue in offices and stuff, we could have put out an app to capture the data. And they are putting that app out, which will pay 5 Ghana cedis for each SIM that you register. So I hope this clarifies a few things for you and kills your anxiety a bit.
Well, in terms of clarifying, I'm really grateful you're doing your best to put in certain assumptive safeguards, but there are quite a few questions around how the data is being collected, what it's going to be used for, and whether or not it defeats the purpose of the national ID exercise in the first place, which had over the project's lifespan will cost the country a few $1 billion, right? And so if we are going around it, or this one regulator is going around it in a way that is arguably careless, it leaves much to be desired in terms of undermining the integrity of the whole exercise. And that's where my frustration comes from, because as a taxpayer, it's my money that's going towards this. I'm tired of seeing all that money being thrown down the drain, and that one person who's supposed to do their job in a particular way has decided that I don't like the people on the other side, so I'm going to cause problems. Like, data is more and more in the kind of world we live in, data is a big security issue. It's not just, someone has this database is connected to our banks, our tax, our pensions, our passports, everything else. And so if there's a possibility of a breach on the NCA side, because of how they're collecting it, or who's storing it, or how they're going about registering participants on their end, that is, I feel like, our data controlling authority should be more involved. There should be a wider national security conversation about this, and the regulators or the Ministry of Communication and the NCA need to get off whatever high horse they are on, sit down with the NIA, and come to some agreement on the policy perspective. Because at the end of the day, it's the data of almost 30 million Ghanaians that is at risk.
Okay, thank you very much, NK. Later, before we wrap up, I will tell you how I think they are going to synchronize both data sets. But now let's hear from Engineer Abdullahi and Austin. Please moderate going forward.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Abdullahi. Can we hear you, sir? Hello, Engineer Abdullahi, you are next to speak. Can you speak now?
Yes, I'm just greeting. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad for this discussion. I have some few things that I just want to be, also throw to for us to ponder over. The first one has to be the will for you people to set up this discussion. I'll just digress a bit. When the Ministry of Communication decided to so moto do their thing without recognition to the national identification, I believe that in as much as some of us always champion what we have in our field as in professional fields, I'm sure this group would have some intellect in the legal terms or the legal fields. I would wish that sometimes when we have some of these ministers who decide to take stands and they jeopardize or they put all of us in difficulty, the will for the lawyers on some of this platform to move to the courts to push for determinations frequent will be very, very important to the general public. Secondly, the cards that are being churned out, I am a bit worried about, just like what the predecessor just stated, where we have our cards being captured by the phones at the local constituencies. In my area, for instance, in Sawam, it's about 150,000 population. And I took the pain to go to the MTN Connect store to find out how many people they register averagely in a day. Surprisingly, for almost 6-7 months down the line, when they were doing the registration, that was the only Connect store which was actually mandated to register the people. So when I even divided the average of the 200 that they were doing per day, we're going to do about almost 2 years to be able to capture, over 2 years to be able to capture the people within the constituency. Now, when this is done and we don't have any other alternative, as in finding ways and means to augment what the Connect store is doing, then no matter how many weeks or months that they add to the extension, we will still have some backlogs. I spoke to one of the national identification guys prior to joining the group, just to have a fair idea what is happening within that. And I felt like
Okay. Our next speaker is Prince. Prince, if you can hear us, good afternoon to you. Let's hear you with your thoughts, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, Prince, we can hear you. Can you speak now, sir?
Okay. I think, as I said earlier on, it's good the extension has been done. But I would also want to clarify, and from Kojo, if I'm particular about that 5 cedi they are charging, well, we need to know, because for some of us, we have about 5-6 SIM cards. So if I'm going to pay 5 cedi, earlier on, I think, is it Austin or Divine raised that question, that is, will e-levy be charged on any amount of money that we pay in terms of registry? Because the e-levy, apart from the 100 cedi which is free, when you do a transaction of 1 cedi, you'll be charged.
Yeah, but to respond to that, I think that if you go through the act and what was passed in Parliament, some of the exemptions include payment for government services. It doesn't attract e-levy. That is what the GRA has told us.
So do we assume or accept that this will be part of the, because now we don't know whether the money is going to the government, is going to the telcos, or the service provider, whether the person going to render the app service, we don't know. So we need to know the clarification. If it is the money is going to the government and it's exempted, fine. But aside from that, if you don't know, it's also something. Now, going forward, what I want to say is, yes, sometimes our policy makers should involve the ordinary people in some of these things when say decision is being taken, because you are taking a decision on behalf of the people. So if you are taking a decision on behalf of the people must be part of the decision you take. The people must be on board, so that whatever ideas they also have, whatever they think, okay, when you will do it like this, it will be helpful. When you do it like that, it will be helpful. It will help, rather than just few people gather and propel policy for a majority of people who has not even put forward any suggestion into the implementation. Because from the onset, if the NIA and the NCA, Ministry of Communication, has collaborated or no, we wanted to use only Ghana card for the registration. So therefore, what do? We need to open up more service in terms of how many stations that we can open, so that people who needs the Ghana card will be able to acquire the Ghana card. So what I want to say is, now
Yeah, hello, Prince. Hello. I think that we lost Prince connection there. The next speaker is NK.
So that
okay, Prince is back. So Prince, you went off. Let's hear you.
So that it will not be like New Job and South. The only place you can go and do your registration is just one center. Go to the regional ministry, is the regional headquarters, which is the municipal. Want to mass up at the GRA office, which is a very small place. They cannot even accommodate her, because now that they're giving 2-month deadline, I can assure you that the pressure is going to be more, because nobody wants to sit again for that last minute heckles up and down. So the NIA and the NCA, Ministry of Communication, this is not the time the minister should be telling her that she has nothing to do. You can't have what you want to do. You cannot do your registration successfully. So this is the time that both or have to come together, agree that, okay, we want this thing in the next 2 months, that we end it. What do we do? How do we come in as service provider? How do we come in as NCA, as Ministry of Communication? How can we come on board so that it to be implemented in a very amicable manner, that it will not get to a state that, yes, pressure will be on us, then we'll have to wait that the minister will come and address and say, oh, we have extended it to this level. And particularly, Kojo, if you can help me, I'll be very glad. The side that the minister said that at the end of August, they will address us. Meanwhile, the extension is going to end 30th of September. I think there should be a clarification that we know that, oh.
Okay, so quick one, Prince. Yeah. On the August bit, she said that we can register our SIMs till the 30th of August without any penalty. But after the 30th of August, if you've not registered your SIM, you still would have up to 30th September to register, but certain services will be denied you, right? So I'm sure that and you'd incur extra charges in using your unregistered SIM. That's why I think she said that at the end of August she will brief us again. By then they would have more data on registrations, and they would have made a decision as to what services will be denied people who have not registered their SIMs. So I think that's it. So Austin, please take over and let the next person speak.
Yeah. Also, on the passport thing, I'm reading verbatim what the minister says, and quote, non-resident Ghanaians who do not have the Ghana card can use their passports to complete the process, but will be required to update their details with the Ghana card once they acquire it. They have up till December 2022 to do so. I urge them to comply with these directives and to contact the NCA if they have any peculiar challenges. Ghanaians on official assignment outside the country or students on scholarships who cannot acquire the Ghana card by December should contact the NCA. Special provision has already been made for members of the diplomatic corps in consultation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and they have been notified. So I think that with the passport thing, I don't know if it includes Ghanaians, but from okay, this one also says all
Straight
visitors
up, straight up, it's
Ghanaians. Yes,
non-resident Ghanaians. So
yeah.
if
So
you are Ghanaian
you can't
proper
use
in
your
Ghana,
passport.
you cannot use your passport to register. I
Yeah,
think that's the basic thing.
yeah. The next speaker is Isaac. So Isaac, you are our next speaker, Isaac Benchy. Good afternoon to you, sir. Let's hear you with your
Good
thoughts.
afternoon, Austin. Thank you for this space. Yeah, a lot of the things I wanted to say, Austin just said them. And it seems like we have been saying over here, this broad consultation when putting up some of these things should be considered. I don't know whether this registration has been backed by a law. I suppose so. And if so, what goes into the law? What actually did they consider? Now, assuming that somebody is coming to Ghana for, let's say, 90 days or 60 days, I am a Ghanaian, a non-resident Ghanaian. That is why I'm speaking from this perspective. I don't have my Ghana card. I get to Ghana, I want to. Maybe I'm just going to spend about 30 days or something. But then now we all know how useful information this digital thing is. I am not able to get a Ghana card. Even Ghanaians who are already there are not able to get a Ghana card for within some days. So how am I going to have access to internet, to these digital platforms to use if my passport cannot be accepted? Because from the information it states that non-resident Ghanaians have to up to December. After December, what next? What is the way forward? What about a foreigner who comes to Ghana for maybe holidays for 30 days or something, and he may need internet or something? We all know how this thing is it has become a basic necessity of life now. And I don't know why we as Ghanaians, we are trying to put this much burden on people. We are making it difficult. Even though they are talking about this digitalization, the idea behind it is good. But yesterday I was discussing with somebody. We can go about registering people. We are talking about cyber fraud and all these things. But you see, if we don't educate the people to know these fraudsters, they are advanced. You just look for one way, and then they will also move to the next step. Yesterday, I was speaking to somebody. He said, "Look, I had a problem. I called MT, and they told me that the Lord hasn't given them the right to. I went to report to the police. Up to now, my 200 Ghana cedis, I have to forget about it because there is nothing they are doing. So what then is the essence of it? Denying some people the right to information, denying some people the right to data and to the internet just because there are fraudsters. It's good. But have we considered foreigners who may come in? They are not having Ghana cards. Somebody want to spend 60 days. Even now, it's all the way to broadband. I don't know, but
Okay, Isaac, to respond to that, the minister spoke about that, and I think that I'll read what she said. It says, quote, all visitors to Ghana can now acquire SIMs with their passports, and I encourage the airport authority to work with MNOs to provide adequate venues for the acquisition of SIMs at the airport. As indicated earlier, these will be valid for 3 months. And if they want to use them for a longer period, they must acquire the non-citizen ID card to validate their SIMs. MNOs must make provision for their systems to send notifications to these category of SIMs. So I think it responds
okay,
to
great.
what you
Yeah,
just said.
that's quite
Okay.
great.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much.
much. And
Thank you.
I'll come to the next speaker. But on the issue of people who are aged and physically challenged, this is what the minister said. He says, it has come to my knowledge that amputees and others who have some physical challenges are also a category of persons that are having problems registering their SIMs. We will have discussions with the NIA to resolve them. So I think that with the people who we think that are not in a position to go join the queues, the minister responds to that as well. Our next speaker is Derek Smith. Derek, good afternoon. I hope you are fine. Let's hear you with your thoughts there.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all fine. Okay, so my thoughts on the conversation so far. Well, as usual, the Ghanaian attitude, where we always wait for the last hour before we act. I think before, you see, I would really want a media house to do a documentary where they can show us the scenes from March, before March 30, the March 30 deadline for the SIM registration, and then show us again the scenes from just this week. Then they'll show us again when we get to September. They should show us the same scenes again, and you see it's the same attitude. There's a stubborn academy. Recently, I saw the MP for Pram tweet that stubborn academy. After he made his address on Friday, Charlie, a lot of politics behind this whole SIM registration. Okay, so there are a few things I want to talk about. I think the SIM registration is not be today where we started to do SIM registration. And SIM registration, they always charge. I bought a SIM card for my auntie in 2018. When I went to the MTN office, after they did the SIM registration for me, I paid for it. I paid for the SIM card. And it wasn't free. So I don't know how come people are finding this whole 5 CDs to be like.
You are rather, hold on, you are confusing issues. Paying for a SIM is different from a service to register yourself done by the state. Don't confuse issues and say that people are rather don't know what is happening. When you do that.
But what is 5 CDs?
No, you see, that is. Let's not do that. There is a
Chief. Let's not do that. Don't say what is 5 CDs.
Next time it will be
I'm just coming from the bush, a village.
Yes.
I do farming a lot, and if I dash somebody 5 CDs in a day, it can do wonders for them. So let's not do that. Maybe 5 CDs is nothing to us, but for a lot of people around the country, 5 CDs is a lot.
I understand. But even with the 5 CDs, it's not compulsory. It's when you want to choose the self-service. That's when you pay the 5 CDs. When you want to use the self-service. Or, Mr. Austin, is that not the case?
Yes, but you see what you are doing gives credence to the Dunning-Kruger effect. You came saying people did not know, whilst you also did not know and you were attacking them. You see.
No, I never said people don't know. But you see,
but you were saying that you have always paid for SIM registration, which is not
it's true.
No, it's not true. You don't pay for SIM registration. You pay for buying a SIM card, which happens.
But when you buy, you register it. When you buy, you register it.
It's free. Why are you paying for it?
But at the point I'm giving the money, that was what?
That is buying the SIM. It's for payment for the SIM. Let's not do this. Let's not belabor this point. The SIM is what you pay the 1 CD for.
Austin, if I can come in here, I think that as Ghanaian citizens, we should be very careful as to how we see the state charging for certain services and how the state delivers certain services. For example, the DVLA has the premium service, which they offer. So in 15 minutes, you can get your license renewed and you are off. This premium service is only in Accra. It is not in my hometown in Nkoranza. Now you pay so much to get this premium service. But after the DVLA has done this premium service for about 2-3 years, I believe they've learned lessons as to how they can make their services efficient. They should spread this efficiency to every other office to make the service easy. So people don't go and pay Goro boys and go and pay staff. It is a service being rendered by the state. And at every point, you must demand that the state renders services as best as possible with very little inconvenience to the citizenry. So if now the state says that if you want to do self-service, you have to pay 5 Ghana cedis, we should be able to ask questions and ask if it could be free, if we could have done it differently. And the app we are going to use for the self-service, beginning of the SIM registration, people, experts, industry, other people suggested that we should do something like this. And it is going to make things a bit more efficient. But we didn't do it. I'll give you another example. When people pay to write BC and WASI, they pay examination fee. If they don't pay and even the state, the government pays for them, it's still deemed as examination fee paid to WAEC. And when they finish writing their own exam, which they studied for, which they spent 3 years in school to write, they are made to buy a voucher to get to see their results. If you don't buy the voucher, you have to go through some laborious process to see your results. We always put things in a procurement space for certain people to make money from it, and to put barriers in people's way, and it's not something that citizens should support. So if you say what is 5 cedis and all these things, you're not being a good citizen. You're not being responsible and responsive to the inequality we're experiencing in the country, where some people have so much and some people have so little. You're not being responsive to that. And it's the state's responsibility to ensure that these gaps are bridged. So don't say what is 5 cedis as though if you go anywhere on the street and you ask anybody to give you 5 cedis, they can easily give you 5 cedis. We should not entertain that. We should always move and push the state to deliver services to the citizenry as best as it should be, without some of these hurdles and some of these problems. This is just a quick intervention on the 5 cedi thing.
Yeah, Derek, you can continue now, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Kojo and Austin. Okay, so I wrote a few things down. Okay, I had people complain about the app we're going to use. Okay, we haven't seen how the app is going to look like, but I think Kojo mentioned to one guy was talking about whether I was going to take the biometric, and I don't know whether he has not done the SIM registration, because I think with the SIM registration, what they were doing at the centers was that they took a picture of your fingerprints. You know, they brought the camera closer to your fingers and they took a picture of the sort. And I think it will be the same. I don't know, but I'm hoping it will be the same app that's going to be released on the iOS for the self-service, if that's not the case. Kojo, if you could confirm that for us, please.
I think it's going to be the same app, and it's really not a picture of your fingerprints. It attempts to scan your fingerprints. So if you realize, when you go to register, it takes a while before the fingerprint scan is done. If it's just a picture, you just put your fingers in, they take a picture. Within seconds, you are done. But it attempts to scan your fingerprints and get the details right. So I think that is the same app that they are going to put out. And if it's the same app, telcos have been using already. Have the telcos been paying the developers of the app? If telcos have not been paying, why should the ordinary citizen pay 5 cedis to do self-service? All these are questions we should be able to ask the minister, and I expect mainstream media to push this agenda tomorrow and ask to get details. And if we are charging 5 cedis, who is getting the money? Is it going into a specific fund for maybe ICT development? Is going to the vendor? Is going to the telco? If it's going to the telco, why would telcos agree for the ministry to charge their own subscribers who spend money on their networks money to self-register? These are concerns that I think we should all push for answers in the course of the week. Austin.
Yeah. Derek, are you done, or you'd want to add something else before?
Oh, if that's the case, then there are a lot of people who have been ripping people off in this last week, because I think in the first deadline, there was a guy at Medina who was charging 5 cedis per each registration, and I think this week too he would have been doing the same, because people are making money off people because it's deadline time and everybody's mad rush for the registration. So that'll be all I would say on this case.
But there is something you said, and I think that a lot of people have talked about it, and we need to avert our minds to it. Where are the queues? Is the queue that we are seeing at the NIA office or at the telcos, or both? You see, you can't blame the people for the queues at the NIA office, because the NIA is not doing their job because of SIM registration. They have a certain procedure they follow. They have a certain manpower. So the NIA can decide that in the month of July, our target, looking at the resources we have, is to register 10,000 Ghanaians. Of that 10,000, 15% will be in Accra, 13% will be in Kumasi, 7% in Takrady, and all of that. These are examples I am giving. So they work with that. Now, because of SIM registration, a lot of pressure has come on NIA So they would need to do certain things. So with that, you can't blame citizens for the queue at the NIA saying people have a lackadaisical or lax attitude towards this registration. Because the NIA, you can't just get up and also say you are going anywhere to go and do it. They know what they were doing. It is this same registration that has put pressure on them. And it means that once there is pressure on Ghana card registration, the queues would necessarily translate to the telcos. Because if NIA rushes to register people, then it means that more people would also rush after getting their card to go to join the queues. I'm not discounting the fact of the laid back and lax attitude of a Ghanaian towards some of these things, but sometimes we should be able to appreciate the issues. If we had a system of Ghana card, passport, voter's ID card, driving license, then you know that we have a collective of 4 cars that are being used. So nobody has the excuse of I couldn't go on a Monday or a Tuesday because I was at work. Because this is citizen responsibility. So within a month, you could have taken 1 hour out of your busy schedule to go and register at the telcos, because with that there will not be queues, because people will not go and queue at NIA and all of them will come here. There will be sanity and there will not be a lot of queues. So then you can blame citizens. But when that has not happened, I think that blaming citizens for all of these things and trying to say we are lackadaisical, sometimes we should be careful. Our next speaker is okay, Kojo, if you have something
Austin,
before I go to Nadede.
we've not heard any lady yet. So
yeah, Nadede is here, so I don't know if
Nadede is here and Eni is also here. So let's Nadede speak and then Eni also speak.
Okay, Nadede, good afternoon. Let's hear you.
Good afternoon. I'm enjoying the space. For me, I think my major concern has been the oversimplification of the issues, especially coming from the ministry that is charging Ghanaians to re-register their SIM cards. And it was very interesting hearing the minister talk about the fact that if we have any concerns regarding the Ghana card, we should direct those concerns to the Ministry of Interior. The minister specifically being Ambrose Derry, and then to Ken Atifua, who is the head of the NIA. And I asked myself, are these ministries not working? Are they not synchronizing their work? Because obviously, Ministry of Communications has given us an order, forgetting that we are supposed to rely on a primary resource that is coming from a different ministry, and not readying her mind or paying attention to the fact that the process to acquire the Ghana card is unduly cumbersome. And she said at the press briefing today that she placed a call to the Minister of Interior and asked that, okay, there's going to be an extension of 2 months. Is that enough for them? And the Minister of Interior says yes. That is too simplistic. It's too simplistic to look at the issues, because look, the harrowing stories you have heard of people just trying to get the Ghana card, and I ask myself, is this the best the state can give to its citizens? An aged man has to move from somewhere in the eastern region to come all the way to the El Wak Sports Stadium just to make sure that an error on his card is rectified. Why does that have to be the case? Why does that have to be the case? A colleague of mine, when she was, there have been many windows for the registration of the Ghana card. So she participated in the first, I think the second one or so, and the cards never came. And then there was another opening. So when she went back, she took her receipts and all that. And when she got there, those who were registering her told her that she was not in the system. So she had to re-register. That is, those are officials of the NIA telling her that she's not in the system and that she has to re-register. Okay, she re-registers. Time for her to take her card. Now, NIA has discovered that she was already in the system and she had re-registered, so her card has been flagged. And it will take her 3 months to get that thing rectified. Now, if you say that people are being lackadaisical, that my colleague, I mean, how is that her fault? So if the Ministry of Communication and the Ministry of Interior are not working in synchronism, I mean, are not working together, I mean, that is a fundamental problem. And you hear the Minister of Communication saying that, well, reluctantly, she's had to extend the deadline, and also 30th September will be the last of the days that people will be allowed to register and all that. And I'm asking myself that, well, yes, the minister has a discretion and all that, but power must not be exercised capriciously. It has to be in the interest of the people. How is this in the interest of the people? The argument has been that we need to re-register because we need to put a hand on what exactly? Cybercrime. I've heard people like Maximus Ametogo saying that the re-registration is not going to stop cybercrime. It has never done so, and it will continue after that. So, we are trying to fish out a few people who are committing these crimes, and at the end, we are inconveniencing everybody. When a solution becomes a problem, it's a clear case of the SIM card re-registration we are going through. And it's disappointing that the state is failing to appreciate the difficulties that many Ghanaians are going through. Yes, like most of you have said, there are lots of last-minute people around. Yes, that would, Stubborn Academy, they call themselves. They would hang in there till it's the last minute, and then they would go and queue and all that. But beyond those people, majority are having difficulties. And I would wish that the ministry would tone down and listen, gauge the mood on the ground, because look, there are areas in this country where they can't access the telcos. People have to climb mountains, trees, and stuff, and all those things. A question was asked that, so in these areas, people that when you're talking about a self-service, what about the areas where they can't access these? The minister says, well, if you are moving and you get to an area where the network is good, you download it and you do the self-service. I mean, how is this how is this empathetic? I mean, how do you put your citizens in such a situation? So for me, the whole thing has made,
how is this an answer to a question?
And for me, it's very troubling that you have leadership a lot of the times detached from the reality on the ground. And I'm hoping that in the coming weeks or in the months to come, the ministry would calm down and listen to the people. I mean, I don't think the minister has anything to prove. I think that it's become more of a banter now. Like, they said I can't do it, I will do it, But there's more at stake than I will show you that I can do it. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Nadede. I'll be going to our next speaker. I think it would be Senna, but I think one question that has come up, and I would also want to ask: what is the science behind the August and September deadlines? What is the science behind it? And is it Interior Minister saying that yes, we can? You see,
there was no science.
Yeah, because the Ghana Statistical Service, the problem I have is the Ghana Statistical Service, right? Just recently did a population census. We know how many Ghanaians are above a certain age where they are eligible for a Ghana card. We know how many people are registered now with their Ghana card. So we know how many people are left to cover. So if we take it that we are registering Ghanaians who have SIMs from that age onwards, then we can just do a certain simple math and know that at least if you put out a double counting, because somebody might have 2 SIMs, somebody might have 3 SIMs, we have this number. Is the Interior Minister and the NIA saying that if we have a backlog of 2 million going by the resources that we have, because let us not say that the NIA should go beyond their budget just to fulfill NCA directive. It cannot happen. If their budget is say we are doing 1 million cars in August and we want them to do 2 million, that would mean that they would exceed their budget. Is that what we want as Ghanaians now? So what is the science behind it? So you see, there's no science behind, or there might not be any science backing the next deadline. So the next deadline will fail and we will blame Ghanaians when it will not be their fault. So their thinking will be Ghanaians relax the game. But if there is science behind it, then the NIA goes by that, registers certain people at every point in time, then we know that they will finish within this period, the one we gave as a new deadline. So people did not go. That is why maybe we are that. Because if there is no science backing it, NIA will still struggle. Then it gets to a point, people will mass up and we will come back and say, hey, Ghanaians were lackadaisical, they didn't go for it. I think we need to ask. Then, like Ojo said, mainstream media should be asking some of these questions tomorrow to those in authority. Senna has the hand up. Senna, let's hear you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Those who are called Stubborn Academy, a lot of people are around. And thank you, colleagues, on this. Kojo, thank you very much. Kojo, I'm so happy you respond to someone on the space very forcefully about the 5 cedi issue. I tweeted right now, Kojo, on your timeline, as to the minister is saying the app. Have we forgotten that there are some people who are not using smartphones? And the lady just spoke about the posture of the minister in question. When we tend to rally, we want to rally everybody, all citizens, behind a national policy. These are the kind of posture that we should take. But she seems to be taking that posture. So a lot of citizens now will be pushing back on her posture. The deadline that she gave, I was just surprised why she gave that deadline. Like I was saying last day, a day before when we had this space, I made a comment. When Bernard Avle interviewed Professor Ken Atifa, he indicated that yes, they are having challenge with the issuing of the cards. And the question was forcefully asked, are they working together, the Ministry of Communication and then those who are issuing the card, are they working together? Because a lot of us are thinking Accra, Kumasi, Cape Coast, Tamale is Ghana. No. Go to the hinterlands. Go to the rural areas. Somebody, you have to climb a tree to enable you have access to telecommunication. So you receive a call once a day. Leaving, now we have the registration centers of the Ghana card at the district offices. Traveling from your village to the district office and you go and then they tell that, oh, the card is not ready. Even Accra, look at the way we are struggling to get a card. And somebody in the village, how would the person travel to the district office? The person doesn't get the card. They say, come back 3 days, a month later. And I'm going to be punished for not registering my card. Which card, when I was acquiring it, I have duly registered it. Austin, you see, when I mentioned about the passport issue, and you say, oh, the court have ruled that we should move away. When you look at the LI, except the Abu Ramadan case, which nullify the, how do we call it, the NHRS, passport, driver license, and which one, voters ID, are all cards. So the minister making the national ID card the only sole card for this re-registration, for me, it's a big problem for me. That's why I talk about it. The self-service. If this self-service issue that we will be talking about from the start of this car registration will not be here facing all these challenges. But it seems nobody wants to listen. The question is, who even developed the app? Is it the NCA or NITA? Or again, Kenny GVG, a private company based in South Africa? So the first that we are going to pay, where is it going? Kojo was asking that question, and I also want to ask. So there are more questions to be asked, and we need more answers. You see, the minister doesn't want to rally all of us behind on one table so we can do this seamlessly. And September ending, let's be here. It will be extended again. Because as much as a lot of people don't have the Ghana card, this process will not end. It will be extended. Nigeria is facing the same problem. 3 years now. So I think we should learn from what our neighbors have done and they failed. When we learn from it, then we correct ours. But it seems we are running to the same hole. Like rats. We are running to the same hole, facing the same problem. So for me, Kojo, you are now out of the media space a bit. But please, you still have touch with Bernard and some in the media space. They should call the minister on the table and ask some critical questions. Because mind you, September will be here. They will extend the process. So I find it very difficult the way the minister is approaching all this car registration process. So please, those of you access to the media, could you please lead the way? Let's get the minister to reason with Ghanaians, to reason with us, because this process will come back in September and it will be extended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be going to our next speaker, but respectfully, what I'll be doing is, if there are people who have already spoken and they would not want to speak again, I would remove you as a speaker so that I can add more, so it will not sound rude, but I'm telling you. And also something, please.
That's fine.
The conversation we had on Friday is entirely different from today. And everybody who follows me on Twitter knows my views on why we are not using a passport or a voter's ID card and all that. If we are having that conversation, you would know my views that I support, and I have said a millionth time that the passport is a legal recognized identity card, the voter ID card as well. And even the birth cert, even when the Supreme Court gave that ruling, I have a whole thread on. That is different from what happened on Friday, because on Friday the conversation was the thing ends on Sunday. People have not done it. Should we extend it or not? If you try and say, well, why didn't we use the passport? That time it was not important because it was over. And even with this now, the minister has not said Ghanaians can use the passport. If we have another conversation on why certain identity cards, which are legal, like driving licenses, are being secluded or are being ostracized, quote and unquote, from some of the registrations we are doing in Ghana now, I think that when we have that conversation, we can share our thoughts on, and we would know our positions on those. So let's not confuse the issues. Thank you very much. The next speaker is tweeting at the Eddie Depps and hashtag the safety guy. Good afternoon, sir. Edward Deborah. Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Privileged to be here. I think I'd like to touch on 3 things. First off, I want to know if government actually reviews whatever it is that they churn out at Ghanaians. I'm saying this because clearly in management school, we learned the damning cycle of plan, do, check, and act. We are going back and forth with this Ghana card issue, and we don't seem to be making any headway. Let me take us back to when COVID happened. COVID is still there. People queued, and we learned during the COVID phase that when you have a lot of people not social distancing, COVID spreads faster. Government has made all of us aware that COVID actually wreaked havoc. So whatever challenges we are facing in Ghana today is as a result of the effects of COVID. Now, still allowing people to queue to get this registration done, isn't it going to be counterproductive? Are we not still going to have more COVID cases being reported? And then we still have to find money to treat those people? Can't we expand the centers? When politicians wanted votes, they were able to expand the voting areas, isn't it? Polling stations and the like. Can't we do the same for this process? So that in a shorter time, a lot of people will be able to do what they have to do. Again, you'd realize that we are losing a lot of productive hours. Already, things aren't going well for our country. I mean, productivity is always on the low. We still spend hours and hours and hours in queue trying to get by with all this registration. Even the NIA, I registered mine a few years ago. Again, I never got a card. I went to NIA to ask why it was so. I had my receipt and everything. I still didn't get it. I had to do it again. This time, I opted for the premium service, paid 250 cedis. I spent 6 hours before I was able to get it done. That's a whole day gone. So have we really reviewed our processes to see whether it's actually working or not? The answer is a big no. As some of the speakers mentioned, it looks as if the ministries, the departments, and agencies are not working together. How do we make any headway if policy makers that are supposed to operationalize things are not working together? What then happens to the citizens? Nothing will happen. Then again, you look at the health risk assessment. What have we done to actually tell that if the people queue, they are not contracting ailments and diseases by those queues? Because it can be very uncomfortable. You meet all manner of people. So I feel that government should go back to the drawing board. They should try to work hard and review their own processes. Review it in tandem with people, because policies are made for people, not people for policies. Whatever it is, we are all looking at the betterment of Ghana. We shouldn't inconvenience anyone in pursuit of trying to achieve our political goals. It doesn't help anybody. At the end of the day, Ghana is all we've got. A simple card that will not give anybody any access to any capital, any loan, nothing. Yet we are killing ourselves and going through all these cumbersome processes to get it done. At the end of the day, the bottom line is still taxation. They're going to use these same processes to take our monies. Yet we are going through a lot of hassle to find a way of giving our money to them, which they will not even use for its intended purpose. I'm very worried about the state of our country at the moment, that leadership are not taking the citizens seriously and serious, and they are doing things that only inures to their benefit and not the citizens. It should be convenient. The process should be seamless so that everybody will do it. Of course, there are a few people who would want to wait till last minute. But I feel that if the process is seamless and hassle-free, people would easily do it than wait till last minute, because they will prioritize whatever jobs they are doing as against going to register for that card or sinking their SIMs and all of that. Let's make it easier. Go back to the drawing board. Find genuine ways of making this process simpler. Once it becomes simple, a lot more people will buy into it, and then we get going. There has to be a lot of engagement. Apart from government and the citizenry, there should be a lot of engagement, because if the citizenry feel detached, clearly they will oppose such processes and the delays will keep on happening. We won't make any headway. So I suggest, and those who have the voices to actually get this conversation going, please, let's see how we could get government to review some of their own plans. Because I don't think they are implementing their management school tools of plan, do, check, and act. If they implement that, I think it will save us a lot of stress. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty, before you go, there is something I would want to ask on your submission. I don't know if I keep saying we are confusing issues and I keep repeating, maybe I am confusing issues. You see, those queues cannot be blamed on NIA. NIA have their challenges. But because NIA works within also a year, they would know that registering 30 million plus Ghanaians, there will be challenges of name discrepancy. There will be challenges of double names. Your name is there. It's not there like Nadia did talked about her colleague. And they have a proper way like yours, the self-service owner, to fix that at their own time and pace. They are facing challenges because another state institution wants to use what they are doing, their service, to do registration and has a time limit on that. Because genuinely, NIA would open, so if we say we should open more services or more places, that is the NIA doing that. It will raise their budget. And they are not doing NIA card because of SIM card registration. So if they have been given a budget of, let's say, 100 million for year 2022, their plan is every month or month of July, we are going to register at least 1 million Ghanaians added to our database at this cost. But because of the pressure from the NCA and that on what their timelines, now they will have to register 2 million people. And that comes at a cost to them. So when we say NIA should open more, are we saying that we will not come and sit here next time when Auditor General says that NIA budget has been overspent by 50 million? We will not turn around and blame them. Also, they will need to employ people. They will need to train people. So we need to be careful. The problem is the deadline that has been pushed by the Ministry of Communication and NCA and not NIA.
Austin,
That is where the problem stems from.
Austin, thank you very much for that intervention. So then it still takes me back to my point. Plan, do, check, and act. If the ministry, department, agencies all in charge of the people in the value chain trying to deliver this, if all of them are working together, I believe they would have a common ground to get it done. That would be seamless. That would still, the Ghanaian taxpayer wouldn't suffer.
Yes, and that is why we all have a problem with that answer given by Ursula, that she's not in charge of NI. You see, if you know, even Professor Tefa back then has issues with certain NPP or government people. You remember his issue on the voter ID card. You know, MPP people had a backlash with him.
Yeah.
Because he said that he will be able to register a certain number of people to help. And that was going in tandem with the NDC's position on news file. You remember when we were doing the voter registration?
Yeah.
And you saw how MPP apparatus attacked him because then he was going to make the EC and the government look bad at that time. So Professor Sefa has those issues. So they need to work in tandem. But like Nandede said, if really the minister's response was, I have called Bruce Derry and he says, yes, we can do it, without any science backing it, somebody's view that we can do it, I think it's problematic. But I agree that they should work in tandem, as we were saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Our next speaker is Amrich Tete. I don't know if I got your name right, but you are Tete. Tete, good afternoon. Let's hear you, sir. Amrich Tete or Tete, you have your answer.
Yeah.
Let's hear you.
Yes, thanks, August. You got the name right. I'm Richete. So I nearly said I was struggling to unmute the new language for those who work from home. Anyway, so just to mention two quick things, okay? The media guys will be probably interviewing the ministers and the stakeholders on this extension or the SIM registration. If you could ask them these two questions from me. One, on the app performance. What is their plan on improving the app performance? Currently, we have just a few people or agents of MNOs who have downloaded and are using to register people. Now it's been the self-service one is going to be open to all Ghanaians. The few who are already using it have complained terribly on the performance of the app, and then that is also stalling the registration. So you see so many queues at the telcos. It's not because the staff are not enough, it's just because the app is not performing well, and it's taking like 30 minutes to an hour for one person to be registered. So you'll be in the queue for a very long time. Something that should take like 5 or 10 minutes, so that in like an hour you can serve a lot of people. It's taking so long. So maybe you can ask them what's their plan to improve the performance of the app. If they are opening up to everyone anywhere in the world to download and use, is a server that's okay to contain, if at least 1 billion people log in a day, can it contain them? And that will lead me to the next follow-up question, that so the money that is going to be charged is going to be charged after a successful self-registration or before you register, so that in the event that I am unable to register after I am deducted, do I get a refund of my money? And I go back to a telco to complete the registration. What happens to my 5 cedis that was deducted and the app didn't perform for me to do my registration? So that's just on the app performance. Second will be on the biometrics that is being captured. So I know of the contactless biometric system, and then I know of the touch one. So the NIA did their infrared or the touch biometric collection, and the Ghana SIM registration project is using the contactless, which is on the app. Okay. Now, the question I need you to ask the two stakeholders, the NCA and the NI, is that have they resolved the syncing of these two biometrics? In the beginning, NI says that the biometric that is being collected, they couldn't or they will not be able to do anything with it. NCA is still going ahead to collect it. Have they resolved that syncing issue in future when they are trying to now validate? Because mind you, they are not validating any biometric that is being captured. It's just capturing it, saving it for future validation per what the NCA said. So if the question can be asked them, that have they solved their syncing issues that NI raised prior to the beginning of the project? And then if they have solved it, how were they solved? And how are they going to also validate people who in capturing didn't capture rightly and then have saved it. So would those people's registration be rolled back as invalid registration, even though they have received the notification that your biometric has successfully been received? So would the registration be rolled back and say it's invalid? So I'll end with a suggestion that why don't we suggest to the NCA that they should just abandon the biometric one and then educate people to do the self linkage, and then in the future when NI has a lot of machines and BVDs to do the biometrics, they can let citizens anytime you can walk in, verify yourself with your card that you have linked, and then your biometrics are validated and captured. So we just go looking at the stats you mentioned today. It seems over 50% of people that have done the first phase cannot do the second phase, not because they are unwilling to do it, but the resources, the app performance, and everything is just not available. Why don't we just hold on to the second phase? Let every Ghanaian go through the first linkage, that's the 404 or the self-service, to link the card. And then in the future, when we have all the resources available, it's a continuous registration. You go and then you capture your biometrics, your facials, and your fingerprints. Then we can. So that's just what I have for you this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Rich Tete. On the issue of the app, I think that let's read something from the minister, and that would help us. It says self-service SIM registration app. The self-service SIM registration app will be ready for commercial launch on Tuesday, 2nd August, as virtual private network, VPN connectivity, and application programming interface, API integration with all MNOs was only completed this weekend due to unavoidable circumstances. And this is where it's key. Adequate time will also be required for publicity and public education on the use of the self-service SIM registration app. So I think that when they launch it on Tuesday, they would be going to, I think, radio stations, the media, information services department, and other communication tools that the state uses to answer some of these questions. So whether your 5 CDs will be deducted at the point where you just log in and all that, will it be refunded? All that they would answer to those questions. So that is what the minister said about that. So I think we should wait until Tuesday when it is launched. At the launch, maybe questions will be answered, and also the other tools that they will use to disseminate this information about the app, we can get it from there. Our next speaker is tweeting at Pilolo. Pilolo, good afternoon. Let's hear you. We'll be ending in the next 3 minutes. That is 4 p.m. But if Pilolo is not able to complete then we'll add 5 minutes if there is nobody to speak. But Pilolo is our last speaker as at this moment. Pilolo, let's hear you end for us in the next 2 minutes so we can close at 4. Good afternoon. Speak. Hello, Pilolo. We are listening to you. If you can hear me, you are our last speaker until anything changes. Let's hear you.
What I think is, I feel the media is failing Ghanaians. I say this because you hear someone like Esla coming to talk and give us all this negative vibe about Ghanaian not being serious and all that. And the media fail to give her reasons why this thing is not achievable. Okay. What the conversation that we're having on this space right now, I just hope that we can have any of this NI official or communication ministry officials listening. But unfortunately, they are not going to be here. And the media who come in touch with some of these people who are supposed to ask them the critical questions, they fail us. Unfortunately, they do fail us. They don't. So you get us like giving the mic, say anything that she feel like saying, and nobody gives her the counter question. And that is serious. This afternoon listening to her, I was so pissed, unfortunately. But the point is, I don't have the means to ask her those critical questions. If you look at the conversations that we're having here right now, if only we can get her to listen to some of the questions that we have here. I don't think she can come and then give us this drive about people are not taking the registration serious here and there and all that. Okay, it's quite unfortunate. And this is what is happening in this country. Politicians get to say anything they want without anybody giving them the right question or questioning what they are saying. And this is happening every day. It's like on the lighter note, they'll say you go to the mental hospital, the more you say I'm not mad, the more injection they give you. So it's like they're not listening to anything that we say. The more we say it's not achievable. I went to Pram to get this registration done. I was asked to pay 250. I paid the 250. I was later told that it's going to take me about 3 months for booking. And then again, they have over 1,300 people on the list that are yet to be attended to. How is this possible? And yet the minister will come and say, if you don't get registered by September ending, then you are off the system. It's unfortunate.
Thank you very much, Pilolo. We would want to end, but you see, I don't know which media space you are listening to think that we are not asking the right questions. It depends, because the media has been asking the right questions. These questions we are talking about here has been asked over and over again, but we think that, you see, when people go and listen to other radio stations or others and come back later and say the media is not, I think it's been unfair to the media. The media has been asking the right questions. Before Kojo Akoto left City FM, he was asking these right questions. Albert Nienkwe was a former media person. We are asking, Benadable asked the right questions. How many times have you seen us go to radio stations or TV stations to talk about some of these things? And you know what happened today is a government prepared press conference. Ministry of Information meets the press. So if she comes, she prepares a speech and speaks, and a couple of questions are asked. We cannot spend the whole time. We have spent 2 hours in this space. The minister cannot be spending 2 hours answering all questions per her schedule. So media cannot continue to be asking her questions when the Ministry of Information says that we are using just 30 minutes for questioning. True. And we keep asking them these things all over and over.
True. But you see, again, if let's say she comes with a script, gives whatever she wants to share out there. Let's say they pick 2 questions. Oh, fine. From Monday, most of these government officials are going to go around various stations. They're going to go to Joy Multimedia. They're going to be there. They're going to be on City and the rest. The big how do you call it? Media houses that we normally follow. Okay, if they go there, put it to them that, look, this is not achievable. You tell the government that this is not possible. You can't tell us that, like you guys rightly said, the whole system is not in sync. If the NI is in sync with Media Commission, then they can't come and then say, well, I'm doing what I can do. I may delay, so if I give deadline to this, go and chase Atifo and the likes. How is that possible? Is that a way of governance? This is total off. So, and it's like they taking us for granted. Because
Thank you very much,
Minister.
I don't know if you've ended, because we need to end the space with the last words from Kojo, but we get it. But you see, I'm not sure that if you go to City FM, Peace FM, Joy FM, Asempa FM, Ishra FM, Angel FM, Kesben FM, Pure FM, Warungu FM, all the FM stations, and you are Minister of Communication going to talk about SIM registration, they will not ask you these questions. What questions then are they going to ask you? They will ask these questions. It's about being forthright with the answers. So, and the way media now, it is this thing you will ask her. So 1 hour, what would Benadable ask her? It will be these things. What would Kojo Yansin? It will be these things. What would Edinkra ask her? It will be these things. What would Sifaka? It will be these things. Listen to the right stations. And let's not think the media is just about when Wallace and the people of Songo do sports. Morning show. They will do politics. They will do worship. Media does a lot of things. So if Nana Banamo is interviewing Esla Usu, and it's not a personality profile conversation, it's about communication ministry and SIM registration, Nanaba will not say that the people are facing challenges in the queues. It is not doable. What is the ministry putting in place? And what questions will she be asking? Then I think that our journalists are not good, but I believe they are good. So they ask the right questions. From tomorrow, listen to the right station. They will do it. Thank you. Kojo, you can end with the last words for us in this space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Austin, and thank you everyone for joining the space. I believe that these spaces give us the opportunity to speak and express ourselves, share ideas and everything. And your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, I think have been really good. What I would suggest is that we keep pushing the ministry and the government to do the right things by us. We can do these by tweeting, sharing our thoughts, and engaging and really pushing for the right thing to be done. For example, NIA registration, I think the average person with a smartphone and a computer should be able to go to their website and fill a form and give their initial KYC to them so that when you go for the main registration, you don't have to fill that thing all over again and blah, blah, blah. It should be done so that it makes things easier. I don't think that you should struggle to get DVLA, your driver's license from DVLA. Nobody should struggle to get NHIA cards or get their SIMs registered. We should push for the easiest and the most convenient things to be done for all of us. Having said that, I want to make a prediction that the 30th September deadline will still be extended, because if you look at the fact that just about 15 million people have been able to link their cards to their SIMs, and we have 41 million registered, 41 million voice SIMs, and then we have the other SIMs. We would have to link and register 400,000 SIM cards a day, at least 400,000 SIM cards a day between now and the 30th of September. And something tells me that's not achievable. So,
yeah, but Kojo, something small. You are the data guy. Are we not doing less counting? Because if we have 15 million Ghana cards which have been issued, it means that Ghana, we have a population of 31 million. Some don't have cards, so people have two. People have two or more SIM registration. That would why we have the 40 million voice. So why are not people doing the double thing? If you have MTN, you should be able to do it. And when that happens, you know that we would have covered a lot. I don't know if you understand my question.
I understand, but I'm just looking at the process of registering one SIM, right? To calculate the fact that, well, these are the number of SIMs we have, and we have to register at least 400,000 SIM cards a day. And I'm looking at the process. I'm looking at multiple devices uploading data onto a server, into a database and all that.
The question I'm asking is, of the 15 million who have Ghana cards, it means that they have more than one SIM. So when you went to register, why didn't you register the 2, 3, 4 of them?
You can't register all of them at the same point. The process they've been using, if you wanted to register your Vodafone SIM, you go to the Vodafone office. If you wanted to register your MTN, you go to MTN. If you wanted to register your Airtel, you go to Airtel. If you wanted to register your Glo, you go to your Glo.
Yeah, so then the minister should have told us how many SIMs have been registered.
Which I think she mentioned that. She mentioned that about 15 million SIMs have been connected to the cards.
Okay, that 15 million is also not the NIA thing. That is okay. They are all 15 million.
It's not the NIA thing. So practically, my understanding is that once you've linked your Ghana card to your SIM, that is when you've completed the registration and taken your biometrics. And 15 million SIM cards have had the whole process completed.
Okay, so it could even mean that of that 15 million, only 10 million are people, because some would have done twice.
Yeah, considering the fact that some people have multiple SIMs, right?
Then
so
what that means is
we still have
we still have a backlog of people who still have Ghana card, and they will go and mass up at telcos.
Exactly. So the Ghana card problem has not been solved.
I get you.
The number of SIMs in the system and looking at the processes we want to use to register them, I think that
And Kojo,
by
I also want to add that not everybody that owns Ghana card also has a SIM card, because Ghana card starts from the age of 15 years old. It's not like 18 years old. So there could be people in a secondary school who even own Ghana card and don't have a SIM card. So using that to equalize things doesn't really work. And on the predictions you are making, I'm also going to make a prediction that in some few weeks time we are going to have Guru boys who are registering people's SIM card for them with these 5 cities app. Somebody will just take
that
their
won't
phone.
happen in some few weeks. That's happening from Tuesday. As soon as the SIM app is launched, the registration app is launched. I know there are people who are thinking of how to cash in on that, how to register for people. So don't say in some few days. From
Okay.
Tuesday onwards, we'll see that happening.
And
That will be good.
you
That will
see,
be good. If people are capturing the data right, it means that a lot more people will have outlets to register. Maybe
yes, but
instead
Kojo,
of the 5 cities, pay 10 cities, because the Goro
That
person will
is
pay
why I
5 cities,
always have a
and you also have
problem
to
with
pay 5 cities.
Kojo. That is why I always have a problem anytime we have a discussion why we are not making full use of the district assembly concept. There is a district assembly which is closer to a lot of people. Why don't you position one service personnel there so that people will not have to go to Goro Boys to pay
Or use
10
the
extra cities?
information service departments
Yes.
of every district, because
Every
this is
district
also
assembly,
information
a
services.
service personnel has been trained there. If you market woman works there, she spends 15 minutes. The service personnel are always why? Now Goro Boys is 20 cities, I can 5 cities now.
and Kojo, you see, when all these things you are saying happens, it's going to lead to our data not being of high data integrity, because one person can register 10 people's SIM cards a day, right? If you don't have Ghana card, or rather the deadline is approaching, I can register 10 people's SIM card because I just want your SIM card to register, not to be cut from the network. At the end of the day, the minister is also telling us that she doesn't have much linkage with NIA. If that happens, and let's say somebody registered their SIM card last week and the person dies today, because you don't have the link with the NIA to know stuff that happened at NIA, even the birth and death registration, you can't know those who are dead and even take them out of the SIM registration. It will get to a time, 1 year time, we'll still have our SIM card registration data being something which
Okay,
is not of high integrity.
so on Tuesday the app will be launched. I'm sure there will be opportunities to ask questions.
Yeah.
So let's wait for the apps to be launched on Tuesday, and then let's have a follow-up conversation with the new information that we gather. I think that's just fair, right?
Yeah. So thank
Okay,
you very
so
much for everybody who was able to join us in this space. I think it's been worth it. A lot of questions have been answered, but there is more questions to be asked and more to be answered. So you can social media, you can keep pushing, asking your favorite radio station or media entity to ask those in authority these things. And
and
as
if you've not
Kojo said,
registered, please register. Why?
yeah, please register. It's very key. Because once people are registering, I think the next step would be how we make the data better. We will not continue to be repeating ourselves every space talking about how people can register. It is about how the data can be improved. So I think Kojo, the next thing, we don't know what can come up tomorrow, tonight, but we will continue to have this space. Myself and Kojo, anything that comes up, and we share data, we share views, and we'll get other people as well to also share their thoughts and views with us. This is a very good platform, and I think that we should set the agenda for all what is happening in the Ghanaian space. Thank you so much for joining us, and until we meet again, it could be either be tonight, tomorrow, or when the app is launched. And please, our spaces does not have to do only with Ghana card and SIM registration. We can talk about Otuado as the Black Stars coach, whether he's competent enough to send us to the World Cup, right, Kojo? Or whether Shatawali is going down and needs to rebrand himself as well. So a lot of things can happen. Or even religion. Yeah. Because
And
Reverend
food,
Usupempa says nobody can become president without his knowledge. He can talk about that at any time as well. So a lot can happen. Thank you.
And Austin, just before you go, I just want people to understand that at the height of everything would be beyond they demanding that the media ask the questions. They should also demand from the leadership that they respond to the questions when they are asked.
Yeah, I agree to that, because the authorities are the ones who are primary source of information, and we pay them for
Absolutely.
that. I agree to that. Thank you so much. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and continue to make our nation great and strong until we meet again. My name is Austin Wood. I've been doing this together with Kojo Akoto Boateng. Thank you. Bye bye for now.